So today we're going to focus on the cause of suffering and why we should study Ayurveda. We'll talk about the outcome of the course. We're going to talk about Sattva Vijaya, which is the power of light to overcome darkness. We'll talk about Ayurveda and its approach to mental health, and we'll do a short overview of the course modules. I'll start with a quote. Uh, You are not the body, nor is the body yours. You are not the doer, nor the enjoyer. You are consciousness itself, the eternal witness, and free. Go about happily. So before we get started with the course, I really love to have people set up an intention for what they would like to receive today. It's called a sankalpa or intention. And so when this class is over, it's really I'm asking what is it that you want to get from this class, and mostly how do you want to feel after the class today? Because this is not just intellectual knowledge; it's also an experience. So sometimes if you ask for what you want, you get better results rather than just having it as like a random type of experience. So I think intention is really powerful. And I would like for you to take a minute just to write down on a piece of paper or with a pen or pencil, and just take a minute to write what you would like to feel after this lesson. And if you're taking the whole course, what do you hope to gain from the 24 lesson course? And if you're not taking the 24 lesson course, it doesn't matter, just for how you want to feel today. And I'll just time it for a minute. Well, it's so beautiful just to be in silence with everybody. I don't know if I haven't met most of you in this class, but I could really feel the energy here. And I'm hoping that you can feel the beauty of everyone's intention. And towards the end of the course, after this class, there'll be an opportunity to share what that intention was. So my intention, why am I even doing this class right now? Basically, it's to remind myself over and over again of my true essential nature, especially when things in the outer world seem kind of topsy-turvy these days. So those basic inner truths that I hold very close to my heart, which have given me a bigger perspective on life, is that there are two aspects of life: the forever changing world of the relative and the non-changing world of consciousness. So the non-changing and the changing. And in this course, we'll dive into both experience and knowledge to allow a bigger experience and a bigger understanding together in a safe and supportive environment where we'll all deeply connect on the level of consciousness and support our interconnectedness. So it is my intention that we all share some upliftment, spiritual growth to raise our sattva in the environment, and to also break any habits of unnecessary suffering. And I would like to pay respect to the lineage of my teachers, Vijay Mishra. And this is a photo of him. And he is putting a silk scarf over my head. This was the end of a Marma course. And we see Dr. Belina, his wife, is standing there behind him. So, yeah, I want to give credit for all the knowledge in this course to Vajra Mishra. And also, I have other teachers as well. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and I learned Transcendental Meditation in 1976, Dr. Raju, Pandit J. Krishna, and Gangaji. So everything in this course is based on both my experience as a Ayurveda practitioner and psychotherapist and what I learned from them. So why study Ayurvedic psychology? Studying Ayurveda can relieve great fear and anxiety. There's an ancient verse from the Bhagavad Gita that says, even a little of this knowledge relieves mankind from great fear. So the study of Ayurveda is like an anchor in turbulent waters. So just even the study of it can purify our intellect and purify the mind so we have a broader perspective. And together, learning together is also really powerful to hear other people's perspectives on things. Part of this, the theme of this class is discovering the truth of life within our own awareness, within our own presence. There's a quote from the Upanishads that goes, and many of you have heard this, it won't be new to you, but it's so lovely. I could say it every day to instill that truth. As is the human body, so is the cosmic body. As is the human mind, so is the cosmic mind. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. As is the atom, so is the universe. Today, we will go over the basic understanding of human suffering and theory on how to overcome it. Sattva Vijaya, light is victorious over darkness. And we'll be giving some practical tips just to feel better and overview of the whole course. There's a basic theory in the Vedic sciences which says there's two fields of life: the changing, always changing, the three laws of nature, tamas, sattva, and rajas, constructing, growth, maintenance, maintaining, and deconstruction. And the non-changing field of life is unbounded, never-ending, and ever-present. Life is changing on the surface and always the same at its source. So Ayurvedic psychology provides for personal and spiritual growth through knowledge and direct experience of Atma and the numinous, which I'll explain later. The soul is called Atman, or pure being, as the imperishable, non-changing, eternal aspect of oneself. And we can all have this direct experience through the body, through Ayurvedic body therapies. For example, Shirodhara's an experience where people transcend meditation, development of awareness to transcend the boundaries of thought, beyond intellect to full knowing of self. And when I mean the self, there's two aspects to the self: the large self, which is the unbounded cosmic aspect of herself, and then the small individual self. Vedic wisdom sheds light on darkness, correcting pragya-parad. Pragya-parad is a Sanskrit word. It means mistake of the intellect. And this Vedic wisdom sheds light on darkness. There's a quote from one aspect of the Veda called the Bhagavad Gita, which says, truly, there is nothing so purifying as knowledge. Ayurveda restores memory of the unchanging, unbounded aspect of the self, which is a return to one's essential nature of bliss. So you can see that I have the word self in a capital S. The herbs, the knowledge, the treatments all invoke this memory, which has helped break both physical and mental stability, creates. Studying Ayurveda is a great way to do this. Ayurvedic psychology does not focus on disease, but a way towards self-realization, freedom, and liberation. Ayurvedic psychology is the aspect of Ayurveda that leads towards liberation because it deals with consciousness and the mind. So while it's excellent in treating physical diseases, Ayurveda also, there's a whole section in Ayurveda just that focuses on psychiatry and psychology. Western psychology focuses on thoughts and the thought process and the ego, like cognitive behavior therapy, which is excellent type of therapy, but it's somewhat limited. Correcting the thinking process through observations of thoughts is also part of Vedic psychology, but Vedic psychology encompasses much, much more. Humanistic psychology recognizes a cosmic self. The whole is more than the sum of its parts. So Vedic focuses on the wholeness of development of consciousness to a more cosmic self. And then Western psychotherapy has also has great value. Uh, it can work in many different ways. Somatic therapy, which is actually has its roots in some of yogic therapies. It focuses on bodily movement, physical sensations, connected to overpowering emotions and trauma. We really need both Western and Vedic psychology these days. I think it's a perfect marriage between the two. So even if we've been on a spiritual path for some time, something may feel like it's not complete, like something's missing. So I hope this course can give you some of the missing puzzle pieces to create a whole picture. So you feel like nothing's missing, that you are experiencing without a doubt, without a trace of doubt, experience of deep peace and wholeness. So the changing aspect of life has to do with our bodies, our age. We're always aging. The seasons are changing. Circumstances are always changing. We're losing, we're winning, we're meeting new people. So there's a constant change there. And so what the question I have for you, what doesn't change? Take a minute to think about it. What doesn't change? We all know what's changing all the time, but what doesn't? Awareness or presence. So we are aware from the time we were born to the time we die, and even maybe after we die, there's awareness there. There's presence. So that's an unchanging, silent awareness. When we realize and live our non-changing self at the same time as our changing limited self, this is defined as cosmic consciousness. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi said, enlightenment is the coexistence of opposites. And we'll talk more about this in later lessons. Carl Jung, who I'm mostly a Jungian psychotherapist, he said something similar. He said that how do we hold the tension of the opposites? This is the question I'll ask clients often. How do you live? How do you live in the world? Maybe you have a peaceful life, but you're seeing other people that are having a terrible, rough time. So it's there's a lot of opposites, like it it kind of like takes away from that black and white thinking in a way because it's the whole spectrum of life is there in front of us. And it appears very opposite. So and also what is the middle ground as well? Self-inquiry is part of Ayurvedic psychology. It helps to realize the answers to fundamental existential questions. Who am I really? Why am I? Where did this relative life begin? I know I was asking those questions when I was a kid, and nobody was able to answer those. I don't know about you, but um, I was fortunate enough to start meditating, TM meditation in 1976, and I was finally able to get some of those questions answered along the way by studying Vedic sciences. I think the Vedic sciences can really help with that. So this in Western psychology, there is existential uh, psychology, which also is self-inquiry as well, which is part of the Vedic way. So another definition of Atman is unmanifest pure awareness as the source of thought, the source of all relative existence. The Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the texts of the Vedic literature, describes Atman as in this quote: water cannot wet it, nor fire burn it. Wind cannot dry it, and weapons cannot slay it. It is in front, it is behind, it is above, and it is below. It is to the right and left. It is all pervading, omnipresent, divine being. So Carl Jung also talked about a very quiet, subtle state. He defined what he called the numinous, and he describes it as the alteration of consciousness that connects the individual with a force that transcends the personal self. So this is that non-dual transcendental reality, Atman, I believe that he was talking about, beyond, and that transcends the ego, the personal self. And another quote from him that he describes this numinous is, it was if it was I was in ecstasy. I felt as though I were floating in space, as though I were in the womb of the universe, in a tremendous void, but filled with the highest possible feelings of happiness. This is eternal bliss, I thought. This cannot be described. It is far too wonderful. He goes on to say, the ego is the center of the field of consciousness, and the self, as the ego, capital S, self, transcendent and transpersonal, regulating center and totality of the psyche, or the God within us. Vedic science. Jung also says, I'm comparing it to Vedic science, the experience of Atman. Jung said the most decisive qualities of the person are often unconscious and are difficult for the ego to perceive. The goal of Ayurveda is a state of consciousness in which one experiences all of life is deeply interconnected. I am that wholeness, that totality, infinite silence, from the Upanishads. And physics also talks about an unbounded state. And Dr. Goswami, who is a physicist, talks a lot about consciousness and physics in the unified field. And the theory is it's a unified theory that constitutes the deepest reality and the true identity of everything in nature. And it's this unified field that is unbounded and eternal intelligence that gives rise to all the laws of nature that we can see and know, such as the electromagnetic force, gravity force, and other forces. There's an excellent lecture. I'll be sending out the recording of this, and you can get this lecture by Dr. Goswami, and he just talks about the universal interconnectedness, a state of mental and physical health. Okay, so what I want to do next is I want to just briefly review Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. I know many of you are already familiar with that, but we're really going to focus on mental health concerning Vata, Pitta, Kapha, just to kind of give you an overview. So Vata, I'm sure if you're on this call, you already know what the doshas are and the elements. So Vata, in terms of mental health, if it's in excess, there's anxiety, and Pitta focuses on anger, and Kapha is, if it's in excess, is depression, excess water and earth. And when we're feeling balanced, Vata is enthusiastic, spontaneous, energetic. Pitta is productive, ambitious, organized, and Kapha is content, nourishing, and devoted, and many other qualities, but just to sort of like jog your memory about this. And then I also like to remind you of the 20 qualities or gunas that each of these doshas have. So Vata is dry, cold, light, rough, mobile, and fast. It's also clear. Pitta is liquid, flammable. When you think of, if you think of pitta as a substance like gasoline, it's liquid and flammable. So it's sharp, fast, hot, light, liquid spreading, and lightly oily. And kapha, which is earth and water, has the qualities of oily, heavy, sticky, slimy, slow, soft, dense, and static. So we're going to need to know all these 20 qualities because we're going to start feeling those in another class, and we'll start feeling those qualities in our pulse and how to balance those. So the gunas of vata, dry, light, moving, unstable, cold, rough, it's snake-like. So when Vada's out of balance, I wanted to focus on like mental health diagnosis. So we talked that there's anxiety, but that also would include OCD, trauma, memory and cognition due to either physical or emotional impact, ADD, ADHD, anorexia, mania, restlessness, low immunity, sleep disorders, which can lead to depression, overthinking, rumination, insecurity, ungroundedness, and lack of stability. So the challenge for therapists and Ayurvedic practitioners for people with a vata imbalance is that it's difficult for them to stay on a routine, and they're often forgetful when it's out of balance. The drug of choice for vata is anything to calm down and help sleep, such as weed and sedatives. So in this course, we'll be talking about addiction and substance abuse as well, and further down in other classes. So in Ayurveda, how we balance the same increases it, the opposite balances. So the best types of therapy for vata imbalance is anything that helps to feel embodied, like somatic psychotherapy, sensory motor psychotherapy, somatic experiencing, trauma-informed yoga. They do very well with Ayurvedic body therapies such as Abhyanga and Shirodhara and Marma. And we'll address anxiety in another class of this curriculum in Module 3. So I'm just really doing the overview. There's not enough time to go in depth most of these slides, but you'll get kind of like a taste or flavor um, for what we're going to go deeper on throughout the curriculum. So next we have pitta, which is fire and water, and those qualities or gunas is hot, sharp, spreading, moving, light, slightly oily, and sour. So pitta out of balance is, when it comes to regarding mental health, could be when it's pitta is very high and there's a lot of sharpness, a lot of acidity, a lot of inflammatory responses, could be violent behavior, domestic violence, a brain type of inflammation, BPD, self-harm, perfectionism of self and others. So they may be very critical because they're wanting perfection of others, paranoia, delusional, obsessive behaviors, inhibiting self-criticism, burnout, eating disorders like over-exercising, perfectionism in eating, calorie counting, usually looking for perfection, but underneath suffer from self-image issues, defiant disorder, behavior disorder. Excess heat can burn the kapha, the ojas, and lead to clinical depression as well. Going to the root, we want to go to the root causes of the imbalance in Ayurveda. So that we'll get into as well. Relational disorders, alcoholism, addictions that may increase pitta or calm pitta. Pitta balancing. Pittas need cooling, calming, and slowing down, taking time off. So home practices, being in nature, surrounding self with beauty, such as cooling and aromatic flowers like rosemary, jasmine, balances pitta. swimming in cool lakes, either in morning or early evening, abhyanga with coconut oil, cooling foods like coconuts, cucumbers, basmati rice, ghee, milk, taking time off and not working on vacations. There's an Ayurvedic treatment called Takradara, which is like Shirodara, but it's with buttermilk or milk. The best type of therapy for pitta imbalance is meditation at the beginning of a session to calm down, psychodynamic psychotherapy, understanding what is behind perfectionism to get to a sense of being accepted, loved, attachment therapies, nutritional therapy to cool down, hormone balance, trauma-informed yoga. They need a combination of talk therapy in addition to somatic practices for calming down. Um, so, and there's different pranayams that we'll go over as well that are cooling. So then the next dosha is kapha, which is earth and water. And those qualities are heavy, cold, oily, stagnant, damp, slow, sticky, stable, or dense. And because of the time, I'm not going to go over all the ones, but when you receive the PDF, you can look those over. So kapha out of balance is diabetes, obesity, fatty cysts, lymph issues, slow digestion, fatigue, excess desire for sleep, and depression is one of the things. So depression, lack of motivation, feel stagnant in life, can't move forward, tendency to hold grudges, it's hard to let go of the past, difficult to forgiving, um, low self-esteem, oversleeping, daytime sleep, eating disorders, hoarding disorders because kapha holds on to emotions and things, sense of hopelessness, isolation, uh, ex- uh, complex grief, long time grief. Kaphas may seek out stimulates like caffeine, cocaine, meth to combat depression. And schizophrenia is in any body type. So Dr. Mishra, Vidya Mishra, our teacher, he said the main cause of depression is a lack of ability to process emotions in a timely fashion. Some people are able to process emotions quickly, which means they are able to let go of it and move on with their lives. For others, the processing or cooking of thoughts is slow, so the negative impression remains with them for a very long time, and this impacts their current thoughts and emotions. So, Ayurveda tools and techniques help to loosen this grip of that kapha has. It just loosens it. And transcendence help to expand out of a myopic perception to the infinite within. Um, so, kapha does good with, like a silk, instead of abhyanga, could be like a silk love massage or a massage with herbal grains it's more invigorating, exercise, warming treatments, nausea, and many others. It's not just as simple straight as that. Everyone is so individual, and so each recommendation for each person is very, very specific. It's not just like a do this, like a general cookie cutter approach. Yeah, waking up early, avoiding daytime sleep, waking up before the sun at Brahma Muhurta, traveling, stimulating activity or hobby to help move kind of that stuckness. They need more spicy food with a lot of agni in it. They should avoid cold, dense foods like ice cream and iced drinks. So home practice could be wake up before sunrise, do a dry skin massage to stimulate the lymph, eat warm food rather than cold foods, travel, exercise with the help of family and with friends who are pitta and vata to help get the kapha moving. And a home cleanse. Everyone needs a home cleanse or panchakarma, but kapha notices the benefits the most, both mentally and physically. So types of psychotherapy, they might, so oftentimes kapha may not be as talkative as somebody who is more of a pitta or vata constitution. So they're slower to articulate their feelings. They may dwell on the, you may notice if you're a therapist or you're an Ayurvedic practitioner, you may notice that they dwell on the past more. They're feeling lost about taking next steps in life, and they need more active therapy like walk and talk therapy, art therapy, movement or dance therapy, gardening therapy, um, japa practice. They need goals and steps to achieving their goals. So, um, really, it's for all the body types. Everyone needs to be tracking what their experiences are. Okay. So also, it's important to know what the subdosha is as well. For example, Sadhaka Pitta, which has to do with the physical heart, the emotional heart. Pranavata has to do with the mind, movement of thought in the brain, because all these subdoshas you'll see when it comes to mental health, if those are out of balance, then you can address those subdoshas specifically. Avalambaka kapha is located in the heart. Tarpaka kapha is the brain and spinal cord. So it helps to know this what subdosha is out and help to diagnose and treat whatever is the issue. So let's talk about the cause of suffering and how Ayurveda looks at suffering. Um, Ayurveda approaches to dealing with the mind is there's a Sanskrit word, as I said before, it's called pragya. It means mistake of the intellect. And we purifying the mind and intellect, being over identified by thoughts and feelings, we lose the picture of the wholeness of life. So it's like whatever we're upset about or we're suffering about, maybe we're in physical pain or we're upset about something, we become, the suffering is we become one with it. We're just one with it. So really what Ayurveda is doing, and I think psychotherapy too, is just to create a little space there, just a tiny one. So there's a little bit more objectivity. Um, and so we don't lose. So that means it's not all of us that is suffering. It becomes a part of us that is suffering of some sort. A part of us is in pain. A part of us is worried about something, but we don't lose picture of the whole picture of life, really. So Ayurvedic psychology helps an individual to get a little bit more spaciousness and not be over identified with whatever it is that they're projecting onto. It doesn't mean that you will not experience all the emotions of and feelings that any human being would do, sadness and feelings of loss. What it means is that the whole picture of life will be still intact and the hard moments become shorter lived. So there's more resilience, less suffering, and we bounce back easier. So you could say that pragyaprad is like a loss of memory of our essential nature of wholeness, which is natural to us. And when wholeness is restored, we bounce back more easily to our essential nature. I remember one of my teachers, Gangaji, when I was living in Ashland, Oregon, I lived in the same town as her. And I heard her tell the story. She's a great spiritual teacher. And I mean, I don't know if she has self-realization or not, but so she was in a car and somebody drove and hit her car. Like, it was like they didn't stop. They drove right into her and her car was damaged. And I think she was okay. And she was upset. And the person who drove the car and said, you're a spiritual person. How come you're getting so upset? You should be calm. And she just thought that was funny that she would say that and kind of ridiculous because we're not robots, we're human. So even when we have, many years of meditation or doing Ayurveda or spiritual practice, we do still react. But the point of this and these practices is that we react less and respond more. It doesn't mean we don't ever not react. Just it's just less. That's all. Yeah. So Pragya. So this is a beautiful quote from somebody named Prakash. He says, if one is possesses of true knowledge, sat is means knowledge, then one understands the unity in everything, the oneness of the self and universe, and hence does not suffer from the afflictions of the ego. The erroneous belief of an individual as a separate being arises out of ignorance. And Jung says the total man as he really is, not as he appears to be. So we're much bigger and more than we can see. So we are not who we think we are. There's something else there. And I think that's often that missing piece. Like, what is that other part, that cosmic part? So just overview, Pragyaprad is you could say it's a loss of memory. Our perception becomes very myopic and limited, and we become externally focused. So there is a loss of the big picture, and that causes suffering. And the difference between pain and suffering. So there is a difference between pain and suffering. We could be in pain about something and that is uncomfortable, but then if we create a whole narrative or story around it, then we're creating more suffering than we really need. And then gyan, which means knowledge of the big self, the cosmic self, is the remedy for that. So other reasons why we suffer, according to one of my teachers, Maharishi, he says that suffering is due to the violation of natural law, either knowingly or unknowingly. So, you know, he would say, like, if a lawyer breaks a law, then his punishment is bigger, because he already knows the law and he is knowingly breaking it. So if he gets arrested, then, you know, his punishment will be bigger if somebody didn't know. Or, like we all have this, right? With food. We know we're not supposed to be eating something and we eat anyways, and we pay the price. We feel crappy the next day. Or maybe most people that I know don't know that when you heat honey, it's toxic. So people are unknowingly having heated honey and creating harm in the body. So violating natural laws, either knowingly or unknowingly. And it's really just our culture. We don't have this in our education, how to live in accord with nature. We're not taught that. So also unhappiness can be caused by the lack of desires getting fulfilled, lack of experience of connection to self. Again, not in our education system. Overstimulation of our senses, external referral rather than self-referral. We're going to spend a lot of time on this course having a deeper understanding of that notion of what it means to be self-referral rather than external referral. Overuse and underuse of the five senses, many hours on the screen, noise pollution, or when something occurs too early or too late in life, or childhood trauma, and that creates like sort of like a gap in our awareness. So we have causes of suffering and disease, pragyaparad, physical issues, under or overuse of the senses, types of ama or toxins, low ojas, karmic influences, trauma, genetic influences. Other cause of suffering are our very own thoughts. We sometimes do create these things on, more suffering than we need, as I was talking a minute ago, that, the difference between pain and suffering. So whenever we have it's kind of like cognitive behavior therapy. It's like, and also self inquiry. We have to, let's like question your thoughts, and question the narrative you have. Like, instead of like, say you know, uh, uh, you spilled milk on the counter. Instead of like criticizing yourself and telling yourself a story, oh, why do I always do that? Why blah blah blah, I'm so and so. Just say, really, just the milk was spilled, period. You don't have to go into any type of narrative about it. Um, so can ex so that has to do with victim mentality too. Like, so the idea is to observe and watch your thoughts about certain things. Like, maybe you were a victim. Many people are, but also sometimes that can be extended to more circumstances than it really needs to be. It may not be. So can you feel your feelings fully, sad, mad, bad, without any narrative or story about it? You'll be surprised how quickly you can recover from something. So you can try it. If you're just feeling upset about something, just feel the upsetness. Where in the body is that? Is in the stomach, in the chest, somewhere? Is there a pain in the back? Like, go back to your body and feel that uncomfortable emotion. And then, if you have like, oh, because so and so happened, because they said this to me, or because of that, don't just like try to push that narrative out and come back to the body. And this is called the focusing technique, which a psychotherapist, can't remember his name in the moment, developed. And so I'll walk you through that during the course as well. It's really powerful to do and really easy to do. It takes no effort whatsoever. And as I walk you through, and you'll have your attention on what's happening in the physiology, and you'll notice that it will just dissipate. Okay, so I want to talk about one of the causes of suffering, as I talked about, or imbalance in the mind and body, is the overuse of the senses: sight, touch, hearing, taste, and smell. Ayurveda teaches that human beings are a microcosm of the universe, and the five sense organs are the means which we relate to the outer world. Each of the five senses are associated with elements. So the ears have, with this hearing, it's associated with space or akasha. The skin, which is a sense of touch, connects with air. The eyes, in the sense of sight, relates to fire and agni. The sense of taste corresponds to water, and the nose, was the sense of smell, relates to the earth. The Charak Samhita, which is one of the um, Vedic books of Vedic literature, Ayurveda, says the cause of both mental and physical disease are threefold. It's the underuse and the overuse or abuse of time, actions, and objects of the sense organs. So, for example, overusing the sense of taste. Overuse, so for example, eating excessive sweets. So what happens when people eat excessive sweet taste is kapha gets imbalanced, and that could lead to diabetes or weight gain. Excess spicy taste can produce a pitta imbalance, and that can cause, you know, uh, acid reflux or skin breakouts, inflammation. The underuse of the sense of taste is also an issue and could be just as damaging to deny ourselves food, and that could lead to anorexia. So, overstimulation of the hearing, listening to too loud music with earbuds on, it puts pressure on the ears. Too many loud concerts increases pranavata and affects the nervous system. And research shows now that overuse of loud music with earbuds is can reduce your hearing in later in life, can contribute to that. And I'm not saying don't do any of these things, but just don't overdo it. And you'll figure out when it's too much. And I think part of it is listening to your body, really being in touch with your body. And we'll learn how to do that when we learn to take our own pulses. Sense of touch is the overindulgence of sex or sex addiction, electromagnetic radiation, which is electromagnetic radiation is like the goes on the skin, like it pinpricks on the skin. Overuse of sight is computer screen, too many hours on the computer screen. Or it could be excess hours on small details. Like if you're a surgeon and you're spending 10, 12 hours a day doing like up close work surgery, that is very tiring on the eyes. Social media, intense movies, sense of smell can be over empowering. It could be over, smelling chemicals if you work in a factory or other place. Okay. So we want to take care of our senses. We want to take a break from our senses. So, and relax our senses. So the sense of sight in Ayurveda, it's recommended when you first wake up, look at something beautiful and uplifting. Like if you have a vase of flowers or a nice picture window. I have like a big photo of a rose. So as soon as I open my eyes, I can look at that. Some people like to look at their dog that's sleeping next to them or a loved one in bed. So the idea is don't just grab your phone and look at the news, just wake up gently, be gentle with your sense of sight. You can also relax your eyes. So if you've been on a computer screen for many hours, you can take some cotton balls or cotton pads and put some pure rose water on them and then place them over the eyes and just lie down and relax. And that really helps to cool the alochika pitta in the eyes. Sense of smell could be like using some nasi oil, herbal nasi oil, or aromatherapy. Sense of touch is doing your home abhyanga or marma, home marma therapy. Hearing, just having quiet time or just no sounds at all, or listening gently to Vedic recitations or nice classical music or something that's not jarring. And sense of taste is including all the six tastes in the daily diet that can be through a tea or masala or doing oil pulling as well. All right. So what you see, eat, touch, smell, and taste is what you become. So you're not just digesting food, you're digesting experiences. So be gentle with what you expose yourself to. If you were exposed to unsavory experiences, which everyone has had, Ayurveda can help remove these impressions to regain a sense of equilibrium. So the idea is like, as we're practicing Ayurveda and doing spiritual practices, we're refining our nervous system, we're refining all our senses, and then we're transcending the senses as well. So there's something called pratyahara. It's the practice of quieting the senses. That could be through meditation practices, pranayama, samadhi marma, pulse taking, yoga, and mudras. So why don't we just take a minute and just do a balancing mudra together. And all the fingers represent all the five elements: earth, air, fire, water. And you could just basically, you're going to gently touch the pads of the fingers together like this. And you can hold it down by your heart in a triangle. And just like, let's just sit. This mudra is like yoga for the hands. It affects the whole physiology. And all the five elements are in in one of the fingers. I don't remember which element to which finger. I think the middle one is fire, and then um, the ring finger and the pinky have to do with earth and water, and the thumb and the pointer finger have to do with air and space. So it balances all the doshas, and it's just very quieting for the senses. So let's just go like this, and you can close your eyes and we'll just have this silence for a minute here. Just notice your breathing too as you're doing that. Notice if that changes at all as you're doing this. See if your mind becomes a little bit more quiet and still. Okay. Take a note and see how you feel in the moment. I thought that was, I feel, I felt good before, but I feel more centered. So other factors, physiological factors in Ayurveda. So Agni. So Agni is translated as fire and contributes to the doshic balance. So it has to do with our the digestive fire becomes very low and the person cannot digest food, which makes ama. So there's mental and physical ama. And from that quote from Vita Mishra, there's also, it will affect how our emotions are if if the Agni is also low. And there will be one whole lesson just on Ojas as well. So ama is toxins, mental or physical toxins. Ojas is our immunity, our strength, our resiliency, our peace. Has to do with neurotransmitters as well. So the goal is to have a very good, strong ojas, and that is part of the Sattva Vijaya Ayurvedic psychology, that mind-body connection. So let's talk a couple of minutes on the remedial aspects of Ayurveda. Enough talking about disease, unhappiness, and suffering. So we call this aspect, the remedial aspect, Sattva Vijayante or Sattva Vijaya. It means victory. Sattva means light, and Vijaya or Vijayante means victory, victory of the light of the soul. And it has to do with understanding the self and direct experience of the cosmic higher self. It has to do with restoring our memory of that cosmic part of ourself, meditation, panchakarma, yoga, sensory therapy, herbal and nutrition therapy, behavior modification, detoxification, and self-pulse. And Vita Mishra describes Sattva Vijaya. Sattva is a pure positive quality of the transcendent self. When you guide the mind through Ayurvedic knowledge to have a direct experience of that infinite fields of bliss within, you naturally feel uplifted and emotionally stable. In order to understand Sattva Vijaya, you must understand other gunas, the three gunas, and their role in mental health. And we'll be talking about the three gunas in detail in order to understand this. So just briefly, Sattva is the positive, constructive, creative force, contentment, peace. They're helpful thoughts and activities. Sattvic foods, they're foods that are alive, organic, and pure. Rajas gunas is fiery, passionate, strong desires, lack of contentment, not enough. We feel like there's not enough, very busy, maybe impatient, excessive thinking and desires, violence or roughness. And if excess, rajasic foods could be vinegar, alcohol, and excessive spicy food. And then we have tamasic guna, which is dull, There's a lack of creativity, depressed, inability to be productive, couch potato, lots of mistakes with great consequences, and food is cold, stale, and dead. So we need all three of the gunas to function in the world, but the idea is in Ayurvedic psychology, we want to get back to sattva or create more sattva and less rajas and tamas. And then the experience of turiya consciousness. This is one aspect of the remedial aspect of Sattva Vijaya. Um, so, what is Turiya consciousness? We talked a little bit about Atman at the beginning of this lecture. So, Turiya consciousness is a fourth state of consciousness, different than waking, dreaming, and sleeping. It transcends thoughts, feelings, and intellectual processes. It's also known as self, Atman, samadhi, and pure consciousness, and experienced as pure silence, pure being in meditation or in treatment. So, freedom from excess thoughts, fears, attachments, and beliefs. There's a concept in Ayurvedic psychology, which is smriti. It's called smriti lagban, and what that means, that's in Sanskrit, it means I have regained memory, and it's memory of my true and deepest self as unbounded potentiality. We have a small self and we have a big self. So, Dr. Jim Brooks, who wrote a book on Ayurvedic psychology, he's a psychiatrist and a friend of mine, he says the Vedic wisdom holds that here is one vital memory that everyone has lost, the restoration of which totally transforms life. That is the memory of the self. This area of one's being lies below the subconscious part of the mind that houses past trauma. An important focus of an Ayurvedic approach to therapy is to help the individual restore this lost memory, both by informing Gyan, cognitive, about it and by teaching him direct techniques to directly experience it. Smriti Labda, I have regained memory. I have regained memory of my essential nature, Sat Chitananda. Loss of memory of wholeness is basically not taught in our culture. So Carl Jung says we shy away from the word eternal, but I can describe this experience as the ecstasy of a non-temporal state in which present, past, and future are one. Everything that happens in time had been brought together into a concrete whole. One is interwoven into an indescribable whole, and it observes with complete objectivity. So, like Western psychology, Ayurvedic psychology, they both focus, a major theme is harm reduction, and it's to remove or reduce the causative factors. So we always look at what are the causative factors in Ayurveda and how do we want to remove those first. So if you're having a kapha imbalance and you're eating a lot of cold things, iced things, then we remove that. Take that away first. Take away some of the causative factors. And then we have as one of our remedial factors meditation. And in the 24 lesson course, we'll learn how to do a special mindful Vedic mindful meditation that is a very effortless breathing technique. And we'll be learning self pulse and doing the samadhi marma points as a way to transcend. So Nadi Vigyan is an ancient pulse reading, ancient diagnostic tool for, and the way we're going to be learning it is just taking it on ourselves. And this is what I learned from Dr. Raju. And it's very experiential. So we'll be experiencing that in a live Zoom call and be practicing that together before every lesson. And it's really powerful to do. And I can't even explain. It's just very potent and very much has to do with self-healing. And it's very powerful to do that in a group as well as the marma therapy. So we'll be learning the samadhi marma points that help to balance the ojas and the doshas and helps the whole nervous system. We'll be talking about panchakarma, the different techniques for different mental health issues. We talked a little bit today about Shirodhara and Chakradhara, and you can see the picture of either oil or a milk herbal substance is just flowing in a steady stream on top of the head, and it's extremely um, it helps the whole nervous system. It's really powerful to do. Abhyanga is a home self massage. That's highly recommended as well. Then there's a whole lesson just on nutritional therapy, the mind body connection, food and mood. Again, it's not just what we eat, but how you digest it, and self-care practices for cooking and eating. And there'll be a whole class just on herbs of Ayurveda for the mind and emotions. So we'll talk about ashwagandha, brahmi, manera, jatamansi, tulsi, godakola, shankapushpi, medicinal ghees, and herbal bastis, internal oil bastis. What we think we become. So this is a remedial as well. So what we taste, feel, smell, hear, we become. In addition, what we think we become. So in counseling, the therapist reflects the thoughts of the client and points out um, how you feel because of your thinking. So Vedic wisdom also says this in Ayurveda. They say the mind comes first, then the body. So part of this in both Western and Vedic psychology is observing and tracking your thoughts and feelings and question them, notice them, track them. Is it really true? Can you flip the switch? I had a client say the other day, she's been observing and tracking how she feels, due to her thinking. I think she dropped something all over the floor and it was a big mess. And she just thought to herself, hmm, uh, well, do I want to ruin my bad mood over this or not? So really the point of doing Ayurvedic psychology is that you have more choice, you have more freedom. So she decided she wasn't going to be in a bad mood from it. So the goal is that you have more freedom of choice. You don't just get pulled into a mood and it's you're overshadowed by it. Um, so all this I think really helps. That's one of the reasons, the goal of it. You could say one of the goals, not the full goal. So what do I do? So I do like Ayurvedic psychology sessions. So it's basically an intake, coming to understand the cause of imbalance, addressing the cause, challenging beliefs, self-inquiry, and then support for behavior modification, herbs, and nutrition and lifestyle. So just to stay safe, be aware of self-harm or intention to harm. If you have a substance abuse, eating disorder, domestic violence, suicidality, they can be life-threatening issues. So it's important to address these things. I can't stress it enough to seek professional help. This class is not a substitute for these issues, but Ayurveda, this class could be as adjunct therapy in addition to clinical therapy. So the outcome, we just have a couple minutes and then I'm going to open it for answers for questions. The course enhances one's awareness for greater wholeness, unity, and connection. It will refine and culture your own self-care practice for greater well-being and spiritual growth. It awakens the flow of the healing power of prana for greater resilience. It deepens your understanding through the practice and integration of the Shakavansya lineage. It connects with a community of like-minded people. And it helps to cultivate Satchit Ananda, the path to pure bliss consciousness, despite the negativity around you. So this course is actually two course. Dr. Molina has offered to open this course up for the Samadhi Marma course. And there's about 8 sections in that course. It's a different link to that So if you sign up for the Ayurvedic psychology, then included in that is this amazing, beautiful, uplifting course on how to do um, the Samadhi Marma points on yourself. And we'll be, again, you'll need that to know how to do that for the rest of the course. And if you've already taken that course already, just let me know and we can adjust the price of the course. So I did email out the schedule, and there's 25 lessons. This is the first lesson. Um, so I won't go over all that since you already have that, and you can ask questions about that. The materials you'll need for the course is the Samadhi Marma set from Chandika and a notebook, so you can track your experiences of the course. The next class after this is a pre-recorded Samadhi course. If you've already taken that course, on Teachables, I have a review of that information about Marma. And then the next live Zoom course is on the first Saturday in April. So once you are registered for the full course, just give us 48 hours to send you the link because we have to it's not automated. We have to like register each person on Teachable. So you'll have two different links because it's two different courses, but they go together. It's $5.95 for both of the courses, which I think is really reasonable since Dr. Molina, that course just alone, the Marma course alone is $700. And this is the link to sign up for the course. I'll be sending out an email with that link as well.